Okay, here we go. We are back. Adam is back, and welcome to the show. And I'm Lucas McNally, and this is the sparsely recorded, sometimes recorded podcast for Maine basketball rankings. Adam, how you doing?
Doing well, Lucas. Thanks for having me on again. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm not wearing my Madonna hat today. Instead, I am wearing a Wisdom shirt that someone from Wisdom sent me somehow. I forget how I got it. I think my mother pestered them because she wanted a shirt, and they sent one. Something like that.
Perfect.
But it's a very nice shirt. So, and you can't wear it to games because you can't wear any logos if you have a press pass or a hat, apparently. So
yeah, nope, can't do that.
And it looks, and nobody at the grocery store knows what it is. So I guess this is really the only place to wear it.
Yep. Perfect. Yeah, no, you're spot on. This is why we do it, for the shirts. So
for the free tickets, for all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to try to sort out Mr. Basketball because clearly the committee is waiting with bated breath. They're like, well, guys, we can't vote until Lucas and Adam weigh in.
Pretty much. Clearly. That's what I figured was happening. Yep.
So the committee, for those who don't know, so we went over it a little bit last time. The committee is 5 people. It's 3 retired coaches and 2 media members. The coaches are, I think it's a Northern Maine, Central Maine, and Southern Maine person. And the media people are, no one knows. I think I know who one of them is. But in thinking about the media people, we know all the media people.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So we probably know them, who these people are. But I'm thinking it's not going to be like a Tyler or a Ben Barr or someone new.
Right.
Because this is a pretty, my guess is it's been the same media people for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got to be someone like who's been around a while, right? Like a Rob Munzing or somebody like that.
Right. Yeah.
Or it's Steve Carmichael and he's playing a long con on us.
Wow. It could be Steve.
That would be
lying straight to our face.
Yeah. Because Steve, if you're not on the twitter.com, Steve likes to complain about the lack of transparency in the Mr. Basketball voting. So it would be very funny if it were him.
Right. It would be good. That'd be great. A great long con if it was Steve this whole time.
Be an amazing long con. I hope it is.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. I have a theory. I'll throw a theory at you.
Right.
Jeff Peterson from WGME.
Wow. I was going to say Lee Goldberg.
That's one of my other theories because used to be the sports guy, doesn't really do the sports anymore, you know. Right. But Jeff Peterson got awfully interested in the Oceanside story late in the year.
True.
And sort of was very late to it. Like, hey guys, have you heard about this? And we're like, yeah, that was a month ago. Catch up. And then was at the Expo for the regional final.
Wow.
And kept going up to the table to ask how many points Carter had.
Okay.
So that's a theory.
This is journalism, folks. This is live journalism. This
live is journalism. Most of journalism is speculation on Twitter, DMs. And then, all right, I'll go look it up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Who do I know who would know this that I could ask? So that's my wild theory. Okay, so let's move on to the players. I'm going to start with a disclaimer, and then you can add to the disclaimer if you want to add to the disclaimer or amend it or whatever.
Yep.
So this is a very, very, very close race, which is why we're even doing this. It's a lot of people have asked why people are asking about the state games and going down to that minutia, and that's because it's just that close. I talked to a bunch of people at multiple venues during tourney week, and I swear to God, the consensus changed 6 times on who was going to win this.
I bet. Yeah, no doubt.
You know, and so what we're trying to do here is we're not trying to diminish anyone's career because they are all much better basketball players than we are.
Oh my God. Yeah. I played freshman basketball and then I quit. So.
I played at a non-MPA school and I scored like 500 something points.
Perfect.
So
great.
You know, I was not in the contention for Mr. Basketball.
No.
So, but what we're going to have to do is try to find some separation here. And in finding some separation, we're going to have to be a little bit critical of where someone's resume is lacking as opposed compared to someone else's. And that is not meant to diminish anybody. Don't yell at me on Twitter that I'm being mean to someone or yell at Adam. You know, we're just trying to find some separation. And it's, you know, a question of, are you 1A or are you 1B?
Right. Because this award matters when basketball is the biggest sport in the state. This is the apex award, and so people care about it, and that's why we're talking about it. And yeah, I want to just piggyback on that and say that I've interviewed Chance a bunch, love him as a kid and a player. I've talked to Zach a lot, interviewed him, watched him a lot when I was at the Bangor paper. Awesome kid. And then Carter Galley, I don't know that I have interviewed him, but just a big fan of his game and play. So yeah, no, we like all these kids. They're worthy finalists. We just have to kind of sparse through the stats and information and try to come up with a winner. So yeah, just wanted to say that we are right. We're not diminishing anybody. We like all these kids. We're just trying to have a fun thing where we're picking a winner kind of thing.
Right. And the other reminder is that this is a 4-year award. So what you did really, and this is the freshman year for this group, is the COVID Cup year. So that's not really going to matter that much. I don't think Zach played. Did Zach and Chance do much freshman year? Chance probably did something.
Chance probably, I think Ellsworth did something with like their conference. I don't know that Hamden did too much, just kind of like Edward Little didn't do too much, I know.
Right.
And so, yeah, I don't think really, again, we don't know the voters, but I don't think that they took the first year into really any kind of consideration.
And Oceanside played in the Mid-Coast version of the COVID Cup, but the Galley Twins didn't play that much. I actually have his stats for that. I have his full stats. He averaged 2 points a game.
Perfect. Great.
So he was behind somebody. I forget exactly who he was behind, and someone's going to remind me, I'm sure. But he was behind. Oceanside just has this like history of just having new guards.
Yeah.
They're a very guard-driven team historically. And so I'm sure it was somebody whose name I've forgotten and will feel dumb with him.
Well, people are asking if we should dock him for only 2 points his freshman year, 2 points a game.
That's what I've heard on Twitter. Yeah. How dare he only score 2 points a game in the COVID Cup freshman year?
Right. Not my finalist.
And then, of course, the big elephant in the room is Pierce Walston. I think we both think he should win this.
Yeah.
It's real. I mean, he's beaten 2 of the finalists twice and eliminated them from the playoffs twice. Yeah. And has 2 gold balls, and it's mind-numbingly bizarre that he's not on the finalist list. I don't know what, but I will point out. So I screen grabbed this if I can find it. I meant to bring this up before if I can go through the 8,000 screen grabs I end up doing a day.
My phone's screen grab.
So for the rules that were not updated since we went to 5 classes, so who knows, says they talked about the finalists, and the 3 finalists are announced during the All-Star press conference, which is, of course, we already did. And that's where they announced everything else, like the teams and everything. So they've apparently, if they stick to this, they've got to announce the finalists. So that was one of the questions. Why don't they just wait? But apparently, according to their bylaws, they can't.
Okay.
And then it says each selection committee will continue the evaluation process through the end of the Class A tournament. And then they announce it at the banquet. Continue the evaluation process is not will select from the remaining candidates.
True.
I'll just throw that out there, that because I'm sure that all 5 of them are watching this. There's some wiggle room there if you want to get creative.
Jeff Peterson, if you're listening.
Lee Goldberg.
I know you're watching this, Lee.
If you want to blow up social media, like, oh my God.
Right.
Travis
Lee, take notes.
There we go. You know, you could theoretically justify it. It would be wild.
It'd be crazy. People would have takes. We'd have to come on and do another show.
We'd have to do another one.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's assume though it's the 3. I took some notes. So let's start with Zach McLaughlin because that's the order I went in when I took my notes. Yep. Okay. Oh, actually, no, let's back up. Okay. Are there any of the other than Pierce? Do we think any of the other semifinalists should be on this list?
What did you think? Let me pull up the semifinalists.
I mean, there's a Sammy Calder argument.
Yes.
There is a Sammy Calder argument. I don't have the list in front of me, but there's a Sammy Calder argument.
There's a Sammy Calder argument, and There's a Dylan Burpee argument if you really want to get into the weeds,
Mhm.
because he's won, I think, 2 titles. He lost this year to Bangor Christian, but
That sounds right.
1,000-point scorer, 2 titles. But Class D North is never going to get the looks that really anyone else is going to get.
It's
And I
really
think,
amazing that Garrett Beal won, if you think about it.
what's that?
It's amazing that Garrett Beal won.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. You have to be some kind of special. Like Cooper Flagg would have to be up in Caribou to.
You would need like 2,000 points.
That's Class B. That's not even Class D. Yeah, you'd right. You need a crap ton of points, titles, name recognition to kind of break free when you're up in the county. So
yeah, you wouldn't need like a Cindy Blodgett career, but you would need a Cindy Blodgett light career. You need to be scoring like 25 points a game, 30 points a game for all 4 years, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
There's the LeClaire argument. Apparently, it's LeClaire. This is what Rob Kennedy said. Rob Kennedy is the most diligent pronunciation person. So I guess it's LeClaire. There's a LeClaire argument. I saw him twice, and if you had not told me who the Mr. Basketball semifinalist was on that team, I would not have picked him.
Sure. Yeah.
It would have been Mishu, their point guard, number 14, who was terrific in both games. And I'm a little surprised he's not on this list, and LeClaire is.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Gorham, really good team, but I don't think he's had the career to win this. And I'm just glad that also Evan Sterling was a semifinalist. I'm glad he got recognition. I don't think he should be a finalist at all, but glad he got on that list too, because I was watching him as a freshman and sophomore with the Sun Journal, and I was like, holy cow, this kid could turn into something. And then this year he finally did. So shout out to him.
And it can be hard to get recognition at Mount Blue.
Yeah.
Not anything against Mount Blue, it's just far away. And so
yeah, you're out in the woods.
All of these awards are narrative-based awards, because every award is a narrative-based award, unless it's like, the points, the scoring champion, which is just stats. Right. It's always narrative-based, and so it's hard to get in the conversation if you're not close to where the media is.
Yeah, right. And so again, how Pierce Walston didn't make a finalist, I'm not really sure.
Right there.
Yeah, right. But oh well. Anyway.
Yeah, whatever. I think we should make a case for Nate Hebert, depending on which member of the family you talk to in pronunciation. Yeah. I was surprised he was not a semifinalist.
I was very surprised as well. He really took off this year, but he's been strong for Grain of Gloucester his whole career. I've known about him from working at the Sun Journal. And just kind of heard about him. And then this year, Lee Horton at the sports editor at the Sun Journal was telling me at the beginning of the year, he's like, this Gray team is a team to watch, and Hebert's kind of taken a leap. And so, it's a 4-year award, but he's been strong his 4 years, and he had a really
good conversation.
Yeah.
I wonder.
And so I thought he should have been one, but
I wonder if he is hurt by the fact that there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
And quite simply, people are not sure which one.
Mm-hmm. I honestly wouldn't doubt it. Yeah. Right.
I mean, there's a little bit of that with the Galleys.
Yeah, but they both score so much that you can just be like, okay, yeah, they should both be in.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go through Zach. So we don't have. Were you able to find career stats for Zach? I wasn't.
I was not. No,
okay.
I looked around, but I couldn't grab him in time.
That would help. I'm just throwing this out here to coaches. Stats are helpful in these conversations. But then without throwing anyone under the bus, if they're accurate, that helps, because looking at some of the submissions for All-State, for my site's All-State team, some of these people were entirely different players in the regular season than they were in the tournament, where we have neutral third-party stats.
Yeah.
So if you average 4 turnovers a game and you, in this coach submitted stats, average 1 turnover a game, then they might not be super accurate.
Right. Yeah. Tell the truth.
So Zach McLaughlin, I think it's probably 1,100 points, maybe 1,200 points for a career, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
That sound about right? The knock on him was not his conference player of the year. Because that was Evan Sterling.
Mm-hmm.
And he missed 4 games this year, which if you extend that out, that's the line of where you're not eligible for NBA awards in the percentage of the season he missed.
Oh, okay.
So that's, I think, pretty significant. That's a big chunk of the season.
Yeah, it is a big chunk of the season. When you're playing 18 games, you miss 4 of them, then yeah, that's a pretty big percentage.
So then we'll go through his playoff record because that's what we can actually quantify.
Yeah.
2022, they lost the prelim, the 8-9 prelim that AA had that year. He scored 8 points. 2023, in the quarterfinal against Cheverts, he scored 5 points. They lost. Then this year, in the quarterfinal against Skowhegan, he scored 41. Skowhegan was 5-13, though. And
yeah,
if that's a full region, is Skowhegan in the tournament?
I don't know. But that 41, they needed it, and it was a pretty special offensive performance. Yeah. So
yeah.
Credit where credit is due. That was a pretty cool performance to watch.
And that's his signature performance.
Yeah.
Semifinals against Camden, he scored 15 points. He was 6 of 20 from the floor, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. He was 4th on the team in efficiency rating at 6. This is one of our few opponents in common that we have in this conversation.
Yeah.
Carter Galley played Camden in the regular season, had 37.
Yeah. Right.
Earlier in the year. That was like the 3rd game of the year. And then I'll sidebar for Camden. You could make a case for Will Duke for semifinalists.
Yeah, 100%. He had a great year.
He had a fantastic year. He didn't do much his sophomore year, came on strong probably near the end of last year, started to show up in conversations. And so maybe it's just a little bit too little too late.
I'd agree with you. Yeah, last year at the end, like in the playoffs, I started to really realize who he was. And I was like, whoa, this kid can kind of score. And then this year took another step. But yeah, you could have made a case. He's going to CM next year. He'll fit right in well there. Good program. Cool.
Yeah. Okay. And then in the regional final against Messalonsky, 7 of 16, 24 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 4 turnovers. His efficiency rating was 15. Wolfington had an efficiency rating of 26 in that game. And then the state game was not good. He shot 20% from the floor. He had 10 points and I think 5 rebounds, 5 turnovers.
Yeah, no, it was not. It was kind of the worst game to have your worst game in, but good playoff run and finally got over the hump and got to the state game and won a couple playoff games. And
what was the first year he got to the semifinals?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So he really made a good jump. Wolfington's a really good sidekick to have. I watched them last year a lot, and he can get whatever shot he wants. It's just trying to consistently make it has been his problem. I've seen him score 30. I've seen him score 10, like you just said. And so if he was more consistent, I think he'd probably be maybe the front runner. But he did have a real good season, and he did get to a state game. So these are all positives for Zach.
And I think there's an argument for Gatorade Player of the Year here if he doesn't miss 4 games.
Yeah.
Probably. It's going to be really hard to win a Gatorade Player of the Year missing 4 games, I think.
Yeah, because you miss out on stats, a couple wins. Right. Other players are playing everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a question for you. The finalist was announced after the regional final.
Yeah.
Is he a finalist if they aren't in the state game?
Oh, geez. See? Yeah. If he has kind of a playoff run like he was having in his career and loses in the semifinal or something.
Well, because I asked because they the ref blew the call at the end of the regional final.
Yeah, the Meso game, right? Yeah.
At the Meso game where that shot was cleanly blocked.
Yeah.
And they called the foul and he made all 3 free throws and that got them into the state game. So if that call isn't blown, is he on this list?
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe not, because then you go to your next option, which presumably would be Pierce, and you put him as a finalist.
And he's still playing.
Right. He's still playing. Then he wins another state title, and then we don't have to have this conversation. Yeah. So
sliding doors.
Yeah, that's a great point. Didn't even think about that.
And then, but then the question comes up: there's the theory that they don't want an all Class B finalist group,
And
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 but
Lucas, that's what I keep coming back to, because it's a career award, and Zach got to the state title game, which is great, but that was the furthest by far. We just went over it that he's gone, and Pierce already has a state title and was the top producer on that team for the last like 3 years. So
yeah,
it has to be something with, you can't just have everybody from B North and B South, and you have to spread it around the state. But if that's how we knew the class was going to be all year, then what's the problem with, I don't know. What's the problem with having all three from the same class? To me, I don't get it.
Yeah, but then you look at Facebook when you post a thing saying who's going to win, it's 60% him. And so my question is he Ashton LeClaire in a Hamden jersey?
Yeah, I don't know. Because he's in the biggest school, right? And he plays against big schools. He gets recognition. He can score. Had a really good year this year. And so maybe his fan club is just really big and the name recognition is big. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think part of it is the school. That's my theory. All right, so let's move on to Carter Galley, because that's the order I did this in.
Okay.
All right, so freshman year, we talked about the freshman year. I mean, disqualifying freshman year, I think.
Yep.
Now, 2 points a game.
It doesn't matter.
Should be just out of the running right from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're journalists. We're completists.
We are.
We'll soldier on. 2022 quarterfinals against Yarmouth. They were the 7 seed that year. He had 21 points, shot 44% from the floor, efficiency rating of 12. I think if that was not their highest efficiency rating in that game, it was close to it. This is where the benefit of doing stats for all these games is for so many years is coming in handy. 2023 quarterfinals against Cape. He had 19. He shot 58% from the floor, efficiency rating of 19. Semifinals against Madomic Valley. He had 12 points. He shot 25% from the floor. Not a great game for him. You'll see that trend here, I think, where he has a lot of trouble against Madomic Valley and very few other teams.
Yeah, right.
It's just that's where Nick DePatsy game plans for him and throws weird junk at him. And what are you going to do? But to his credit, they won all those games.
Yeah.
So,
comes out on top.
A little bit of the Madomic game plan is to make Cohen beat them. I think that's a little bit of it. And he's done it. Regional final against Yarmouth. He had 31, shot 45% from the floor. Gold ball game last year against Orono, he had 27, fueled that big comeback. So, if you're going to be one of the people be like, well, what did he do in the gold ball game against Orono this year? Well, he has a big gold ball game on his resume. That's 27 in a gold ball game is huge.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's really good. And in his fourth quarter, he almost single-handedly brought them back at the end in that game last year. Just a furious comeback. I had my story written, and then he hits a bunch of threes, and I'm like, oh, God. All right, here we go. They're back.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Also, he has 4. I'll bring it up because I have his stats up here. His career points, I think it's 1,400 something.
Yeah. Okay. In about 3 years, that's pretty good. Yeah,
1,475. No, 1,400. The state game hasn't been added to this. It's on Max Preps. 1,484 points.
Yep.
And 4.2 rebounds a game, but that includes the freshman year where he did very little. So big counting numbers there. Okay, so then on to this year, the quarterfinals against Mountain Valley. He had 27, which surprised me because Cohen Galley had 38 in that game, and I sort of forgot that Carter also had 27. There's the Madomic game where he had 3. Then there's the regional final against Lincoln Academy where he had 35. Could have broken Bedard's record. I think we're in agreement on that, right?
Yeah.
Bedard's record was 43.
Yeah.
I think he gets to 43 if Lincoln keeps that closer.
Right. Yeah, because he was on fire.
Yeah. And then the state game, he basically put up the same stat line Zach McLaughlin did in the state game, a little bit better. He had fewer turnovers and took fewer shots. That's the Pierce Walston effect.
Yeah.
And then go Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say it's a Pierce Wilson effect, and it's kind of how Madomik game plan for him. They had everybody knowing where Carter was at all times. They had Pierce hounding him. They would switch on like Will Francis, Ben Francis. They were in his grill this past game the entire time, and Pierce, especially down the end stretch, he wouldn't let him get anything. So kind of the same thing with Madomik. They game plan totally around him, it seemed.
So there's a stat with Carter that got sent to me, and I sort of ignored it because it's not a great stat, but then it ended up on Instagram, shockingly, where he's 5th in the country in points per 32 minutes on max preps.
Oh, wow.
With the caveat, there is a pretty big one among people who post their stats on max preps.
Yeah, right. Okay. Which can't even probably be half. Yeah. Like
in Maine, it's probably 15%, 20%, something like that. I mean, he's number 1 in Maine. We all know that. But it's something, it's well over 30 points a game per 32. Because he missed so many fourth quarters sitting on the bench. And then, of course, there's the whole controversy, a whole blown up, dumb controversy from the Belfast game of them, quote unquote, running up the score, which is all complete nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. We've gone over it.
We've gone over it. It's been debunked 1,000 times. Don't follow people who tell you it happened. All right. Do we have anything you want to add on Carter?
Just that he's incredible, and it seems like he can get his shot anywhere. He's got a really nice 3-point shot. Made it to 2 state games and was undefeated, right, going into this one, and I think only had 1 or 2 losses last year.
They lost once last year to Winslow, I think.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense. Winslow had that Jason Reynolds who could kind of change a game. He was pretty big.
Yep.
And so I mean, a pretty spectacular career. No state titles, but got to 2 of them, and really great scorer. So I think he's deservedly on this list.
There's an argument I've heard. There's one element where a lot of people just don't like him, because let's be honest, he and his brother look like 80s movie villains.
Yeah.
They look like those guys. And I think that's part of it. And I think there were some sportsmanship issues. Well, I know there were some sportsmanship issues early in their career, but they, I think, have matured quite a lot.
Yeah.
I know them a little bit, and I've had no problems with them.
Mm-hmm.
I think a little bit of it might be they have kind of a sarcastic sense of humor.
Yeah, that's probably right.
And
that makes sense.
And that, you know, sometimes out of context, doesn't always work. And they like to talk trash on the court, but so did Larry Bird.
Right. Hey, I mean, if you like, right, exactly. I thought I was, courtside for the Orono game, taking a bunch of videos and stuff for the state game this past week, and I thought they're great. They seem pretty like straight face and stoic, and so they don't really kind of. I mean, at least in that game, they didn't kind of go up and down. They were just kind of talking to their teammates. I didn't hear too much crazy stuff from them. I hear some. You can hear some pretty crazy stuff from some kids, and I thought they were fine. They just went about their business, even when the game kind of was frustrating on both ends, especially in the second half. No one was really getting going too much. It seemed like they stayed the course, and Carter was still trying to get his shot, even though he finished with 9 points, wasn't his greatest game. But I enjoyed watching him play. That their Lincoln game, Carter was just phenomenal. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and I think there's the other knock I've heard is that Cohen has taken on more of a primary role down the stretch this season.
Yeah.
Part of that, I think that shift happened. I know they were trying to get Cohen to 1,000 points late in the season. So Carter took a back seat to help get Cohen to 1,000 points, because why wouldn't you? And then, of course, we saw that in the quarterfinals. And then Cohen just, I think, elevated his game in the last 6 to 8 games of the year. And, he averaged 10 rebounds a game in the regional.
Oh, wow.
For a guy who's 5'11".
Yeah, not very big.
Is pretty good.
Yeah. that can kind of go to your basketball IQ too, to just know where to be and how to be and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's impressive.
I'm told Cohen is, I think, salutatorian
Oh,
at
there you go.
Oceanside.
Nice.
And then, as a Madomic fan, I would have a joke about that, but I'll leave that out.
Okay, great.
All right, so now to Chance. We think it's 1,700 points, something like that.
Yeah, I just looked at Ryan McLaughlin's Ellsworth story from the Ellsworth American. He has him at 1727.
Okay.
And this was on February 27th. So yeah, that's the thing. And he had 398 points in the Big East Conference this year. That's regular season, I think, according to their website. So about 400 in the regular season this year.
Okay, so I think he averaged something like 21, something like that, 22.
This has 23.4, but again, that's just their Big East Word document that they keep. So
right. And I got it up here. That free throw percentage can't. Oh wait, I'm looking at the whole team. Yeah, so 398 points, 160 rebounds. So that's a pretty good rebounding percentage.
Yeah, really good rebounder.
All right, so then let's look at his tournament stuff. I was run down it since I did the research. 2022 in the quarterfinals against Presque Isle, he had 25 with 6 rebounds, fouled out of that game. Semifinals against Old Town, he had 21 and 8. Regional final against Orono, he had 12 and 5 rebounds. And then that was the year they went to the state game. I think he had 17 in the state game. I don't know why I didn't write that down.
Yeah.
It's something like that.
Lost, right? Lost to like Yarmouth, I think.
They lost to Yarmouth. Yeah, that was the year that Yarmouth rallied to beat Madomic in the regional final.
Yeah.
And that was the year Bickmore, I think, tore his ACL or something in either the regional final or the semifinal.
Got it.
And so that's one of the big what if years for Madomic.
Yeah,
there's definitely. A couple. Where most people in Waldorf feel they would have beaten Ellsworth at full strength, but we'll just leave that out. We'll leave that out. So then 2023 quarterfinals against Washington Academy, he had 20. Semifinals against Old Town, he had 38. That's his big signature playoff game.
That was a special game. I was there.
Yeah. And then the regional final, he had 21, losing to Orono. And then this year in the quarterfinals, he had 16 against Winslow in a blowout. I think he hit them all in the first half. And then the semifinal was pretty bad. It was a pretty rough show.
Yep.
Losing to Orono. So there's like a theme here, a weird theme of who these guys have lost to. It's hard to put a finger on it.
Curious.
Like this common denominator. I wonder if there's something there.
Yeah.
Of who
we should look at that roster.
Who keeps eliminating them from the playoffs?
Yeah. Wow. Who was on that team?
They must be pretty good.
Yeah.
Probably some junior who's not eligible for the award. That's probably what it is.
It's got to be. Yep.
So there's the big year is the sophomore year, which is weird in these things. Normally the big year is the senior year, and it sort of, progressively got worse in terms of the tournament going into the senior year, which doesn't help in a thing like this because recency bias is definitely a thing.
Huge. Yeah. Recency bias is huge, just picking finalists.
Right.
So,
and then, if you're going to talk about the sportsmanship angle, he was ejected from a game earlier in the year for
that's right. Yeah.
Giving honest feedback on the job performance of an official.
Yeah.
And then he got a technical for the same thing in the semifinals.
Yep.
Which I know there's some people at the MPA or MPA adjacent or just, that cohort that would knock him off their list entirely. The ejection and the technical for running his mouth. It doesn't knock anyone off my list. I think don't eject a kid from a close game.
No.
But both of those technicals did. I think they lost the ejection game.
I think they did, yeah.
And I think that could have been the difference. And the technical did not help in the semifinal.
No.
Which had not been decided at that point. So that, I mean, that's not nothing.
Nope, that's true.
You've got to, if you want to make a knock on it, you got to, keep your shit together while the game's on the line. You want to get ejected from a blowout, get ejected from a blowout. I guess it's not the best idea in the world. Maybe you want to leave. You've had enough.
Yeah.
You've seen enough.
Gotta get out of there.
Sitting on the bench anyway. Get ejected, sure.
Yeah.
But then he had to miss a game because of the ejection.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So it's a 17-game season for him.
Yeah. I will say that interviewing people these past couple of years, I don't know that I've had a kinder person to interview than Chance. He's been always willing to help and talk, and always putting the kind of the spotlight on his teammates and how they help him and help the team and whatnot. So great guy. I think he just got heated a few times. And not to bring this back to Pierce, but Pierce is kind of a fiery guy, and he yells and he talks, and probably more than Chance if I were to pick who's the louder one on the court.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if that went into anything, but I love Chance the person, but you're right. It might factor in this year, getting ejected and then having a pretty clear technical, a highly viewed technical in the playoffs.
Right. In a loss.
Yeah.
And missing the game doesn't help. I mean, when the ejection happened, I remember that night, a couple of people messaged me going, "What? Chance? Really? How? How does Chance?" And it was, in his defense, a very soft technical, the first one.
I think we were messaging about it that night, trying to find out if someone had like a video of it or something.
Right. And there was video of it, but the word is that what he said the call was ridiculous and got teed up by a notoriously thin-skinned official.
Mm-hmm.
And then he added an adjective to that.
Yeah, get him out of there. And
the second one was an automatic, because you can't drop the F-bomb in the direction of an official.
Yeah,
and not get a technical. Like that
one is pretty
cool in the world. But the first technical was very soft. And I think if this was the NBA, they would rescind it later.
Right.
And take away his fine.
Yeah.
But we don't do that here. And then I don't know what he said. I was pretty close to the one at the semifinal. Like, it was down near where I was sitting. I didn't hear it, but he didn't look heated. So my guess is the same thing, if I had to speculate.
Right. I'm sure he disagreed with the call, something kind of like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, on his on the court performance, you're right. His sophomore season was really good. His junior season is when I really got to watch him with the Vanguard paper again. Not to make all of this about me, but just bringing my experience.
At least half of it about you.
Yeah, right. And so his Old Town game, I think I tweeted something like, if he was 6 inches taller, we'd be talking about him like we do Cooper Flagg, and kind of a half.
Back at you on occasion.
What's that?
That gets thrown back at you on occasion. I think some people.
It does. And this year's not phenomenal playoff performance. I was hearing it a bunch, but it was like half a joke and half like, this kid's really incredible. He can score from everywhere. He'll crash the boards. He's floor general type of thing. He's really impressive when he's on. But Orno kind of was able to zero in on him a lot and kind of let everyone else try to beat them. And back-to-back times they were able to find that successful. So,
well, it's the same thing they did to Carter.
Yeah, exactly. You can just pick out their best player and see what happens.
We just keep coming back to that.
Yep.
One point I wanted to make to circle back a little bit that I meant to make in the Carter section. There is this whole thing of, well, McLaughlin's in A. I'm pretty confident that Oceanside would have won A North if they were in A North.
Oh yeah, I think so.
I mean, they won A North recently.
Yeah.
Before they were dropped down to B, went to B North for a few years, and then went over to B South. I think if they were in A North, they win that region, or they're at least in the regional final of that region.
Yeah. Could you imagine if the first iteration of the reclassification we got this year where it had Oceanside and B North? Could you imagine if that had happened? That would have been so fun.
the Lincoln Academy, Madomic Valley, and Oceanside moved to
Yeah.
B North plan.
Yeah, the state game wouldn't have been any fun, but it would have been an awesome, even better tournament. So
That would have been the most ridiculous tournament.
yeah, ever.
Like, yeah, like the 1-8 game would have been hard.
Right.
I think like Caribou would be the 8 in that scenario or something.
Yeah, definitely.
We
And
can look at it.
they would give a fight to whoever the 1 seed was.
Yeah, so even if you just keep the heel points even, if they don't change the heel points at all, just whatever they came in with. So Caribou had 132.7, and York had, so Lincoln, no, Madomic would be the 8.
Oh, okay. Jeez.
In that scenario. Lincoln would be a 7.
Wow.
And Oceanside would be the 1.
Yep.
So your 1-8 game would have been Madomic Valley Oceanside.
Perfect. Love it. Yeah, no, it would have been ridiculous. I'm kind of glad it didn't happen because we got the state game again.
Right.
But yeah, that would have been phenomenal.
There's some people in York who are pretty annoyed.
Yeah. Right.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so all right, so that's the resumes. What do we think? I think I don't see an argument for McLaughlin.
I don't, unfortunately, just because it's a career award and we kind of went through his playoff career, and this he did make a state game this year. Chance didn't, but Chance has already made one, and he's made a regional final, and this is the furthest McLaughlin's made it in a while, like ever, by far.
It's the only year he's played a game on the big floor at a tournament. The only year he's played a game on a tournament site. And I've said before, I think that's the minimum to be Mr. Basketball is you have to have that level of success your first 3 years.
Yeah. Right.
I'm
amending the last 3 in this case.
I'm amending it. Right. I'm amending it from my original thing. If you have to win a quarterfinal, because I think there is some value in earning a bye to a tournament site. And mostly because someone brought up Jace Bessie, who will be a senior next year and has not won a quarterfinal game, has gotten very close 3 times.
Yep. Yeah.
And has been a top seed in 2 of those years and has played exceptionally well in all 3 quarterfinals. So I was like, well, you can't disqualify him. Like, he's clearly had a really good first 3 years of his career. It's just he's had some bad luck in the tournament, but he's been on the big stage. And I think the big stage means more than playing a quarterfinal at your home gym.
Yeah, no, I am totally with you there. So I think McLaughlin's probably 3rd in this top 3,
or 4th if we want to do the real ranking. I'm not even sure he's 4th for me. If we were gonna start completely over and re-rank him, I think I'd put Ebert in front of him.
Yeah, and I think you could probably make a case for Sammy Calder as well. Monmouth has had some success, and then they won a state title this year. So,
yeah. All right. So the Carter versus Chance, that's like really close.
It's very close.
I think I come down to it where Chance started better, clearly.
Yeah.
Has a better total regular season numbers.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much of that the difference in those points is. What is like 300? I mean, did Chance just have a better freshman year? Is that the difference?
Sure, right. And then it's if Chance had a Cohen on his team taking a lot of shots away, what would his numbers look like? Not to say that Chance wouldn't be a great player, he obviously would, but his numbers wouldn't look the same. And
then where are Carter's numbers if a certain athletic director doesn't call the MPA?
Right. Yeah. Are they a lot better?
Is it 100 more points?
Yeah.
I mean, probably. Maybe.
If Dana White doesn't fly him to Vegas, what are his numbers?
Yeah. If he doesn't miss all those games because he's in Vegas with Dana White, then
while his team is banned. Yeah.
Yeah, if he doesn't get banned from the playoffs.
Yeah, what's this season look like?
So many what ifs, that are out of control.
It's hard to keep track of.
I could actually pull up his game log because it's handily on Max Preps. And now I'm kind of wondering who was on that team, who he was sitting behind his freshman year. Because that was a pretty good team. I remember that was being a good
It was
team.
a pretty good team. I'll say about Chance, I mean, all last year I was like, this is the best player in the state. I'm ready to say that. And then this year, I mean, great regular season. I think he was the top seed, right, in B North.
Yeah, they were the top seed.
Yeah, and still had great numbers. Just ran into another buzzsaw in Orono again. That's weird how that worked out. But I don't know, because then Carter's made it to 2 state games. Chances made it to 1 in a regional final, and neither of them have won anything. Carter's numbers might look better if his situation's a little different. So how much are you gonna go off of just how good of a player he is? It's a really tough argument. Where do you stand?
I think I'm leaning Galley.
Okay, yeah.
Because
I think I probably am too.
I think that the senior, I think it's a 4-year award, but I think the senior year means more than the sophomore year.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that Carter's points are higher if there isn't the controversy. Yep. That wasn't their fault. No. And I think they've handled the controversy that wasn't their fault very well.
Very well, yeah.
And I think that's a point in their favor. And I think for some members of the committee, it might be a point against them. And I don't think that's fair.
Right. I thought they handled it fabulously, because there was never anything that came out from them. I didn't hear anything from like any Oceanside player about any of the stuff.
You hear stuff from Larry Reed on Facebook that he then deleted.
Yeah,
I didn't hear anything from the players. I heard from a lot of the parents.
Well, I'm sure.
As you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think they handled it incredibly well. I think that had to have been a massive distraction. Yeah. And just if you look at how they played against Morse, I was talking to the Morse AD, and he said that they were exceptional. That was the first game after. Yeah. He said he was really impressed with how they handled everything. This is one of the funniest things I saw all year, actually. So I was watching the video of it while I was at a different game, is they got to like 97 points or something like that, and then just stalled.
Yeah.
For like 3 or 4 minutes. Right. And with the JVs in, like they got like the starters that were long out, I think. The JVs are in there, the JVs are stalling, and the Morse fans are booing.
Yeah, right. That was like right afterwards, right? Yeah.
It was the first game. And I was like, well, yeah, if anyone knows what it's like to blow people out on a consistent basis, it's Morse fans. They haven't done it for a while.
Yeah.
But back in the day, that they were that team.
Yeah, exactly.
And they would put up, I think people forget, like when they look at the Oceanside scoring, if you look at those old Morse teams from the 80s, and especially from the 80s, they would score routinely 100 points.
Yeah.
And no one cared. Like, I looked it up. There was a stretch, because I have the Madomic record book. I think there was a stretch where they scored 100 on Madomic, like 6 games in a row.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so the sort of scoring that they were doing is just out of line with what everybody else is doing, but it's not historically.
No, there's been plenty of teams that put up a billion numbers. And it was obviously just an Instagram post that was just blatantly false. But yeah, no, I thought they handled all that really well, and it had to have been a crazy distraction for just a little high school in Maine, but they handled it well. And I guess I would probably go with Carter as well. 2 state games, really all around scorer and decent defender. So I think I'd probably go with him as well. And you're right, the senior year is going to mean more than someone's sophomore or junior years as well. So, and
the playoff resume is stronger. I tweeted out yesterday, I think he has 20 or so more playoff points in his career. So even if you take out their bad games, they've each got a bad game in there. The Chances semifinal this year, and Carter's got 2. So you can pick one. It's either the state game this year or the Madama game.
Madama game, yeah.
But I think both of those, I mean, I think I would say the state game is the bad game. The Madama game, I mean, we were there. He did other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
He defended well.
Yeah,
he passed well. He had a bunch of assists in that game. He rebounded the ball well. Yep. It just was not his day shooting, and he found other ways to win.
Still made a huge impact. Yeah, he was definitely, when you watch the game, he jumped out as being the guy that everything was still going through. Right. He made everything still happen. So, yeah, even a bad shooting game, he got the job done and advanced the team. So,
yeah, so I think that's, and then if you look at their signature games, Chance has got the 38, the big 38 game, and then Carter's got the 35 against Lincoln Academy. That's pretty much a wash. Right. But then he's also got the gold ball game against Orono.
Yeah,
and he's got 31 in a regional final against Yarmouth. Mm-hmm. And he was the region's MVP in 2023. I think Chance was probably the regional MVP in 2022, or was it someone else on that team? Do you remember?
It was probably Chance. I don't think it was anyone. It would be anybody else, but I'd have to go back and look. But yeah, I mean, it's real close in their postseason careers. Just one of them has made 2 title games.
Right, and that might be the difference here.
Yeah,
and it doesn't help, being a narrative award, being that the senior year is generally going to mean more. That his were the last 2 years as opposed to Chance's first 2 years.
Yeah, right.
All right, and so I think.
Yeah, we're in agreement. I think that might be it. I think we kind of covered everything.
I mean, we did some research. We made fun of Instagram posts. Yep. I think we covered all the bases. We've figured out who the committee members are, I think.
Yep, we've named everybody, I think. Travis Lesargic, we're looking at you.
Yeah, it could be him. It could be Ernie Adams.
Yep.
Could be Larry.
Could be Larry. I think Larry would have told me.
Larry probably would have told you. He would have been one of the girls' ones, obviously.
Yeah.
It could be Renee, whose name I can't remember, up in the county.
Oh, yep. He's been around. David.
He's been around forever. I mean, it could be David. It could be someone retired. It doesn't. I don't think it says it's an active media member.
Yeah.
It could be Norm Farkos.
True.
It could be, but I think it's definitely someone older who's been around.
Mike Lowe. Mike Lowe says he's retired, but sometimes he comes out of retirement.
I did see him. He is at Disneyland right now.
That's true.
But so it could be Mike Lowe. I think it's someone who saw Cindy Blodgett play. I think that's a safe assumption.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to promote anything that you're doing? You have your Pierce article, story was really nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a Substack, Maine Sports Today. Just Google that and look it up. And I talk about why 2-time state championship winner Pierce Walston should have been Mr. Basketball. So.
Yeah. And then there's the search for that. It's the Ben Francis shirt that someone was wearing.
Yeah, we have I posted a picture on Twitter of Pierce Walston pointing at his ring finger, and behind him is a kid with a big black shirt that has a Pierce Walston, animated Pierce Walston on the front. I mean, Ben Francis, sorry, Francis shirt. So we need that and the Jalen Reed face, and it says MVP under it. We need that shirt as well.
I mean, someone should be making the shirt of Pierce going like this is what someone should be doing.
Yeah, that has to be a shirt. It's incredible.
That has to be in production.
Yeah. And Pierce's post game, like the 5 minutes after they won the title this year, was incredible. He called himself Mr. Maine. He said there's no contest. He said he has almost enough rings for all 3 of the finalists, and he was right. And yeah, he was on one, and deservedly so. He was the best player on that team for 2 years in a row, and he gets to go home with 2 rings. So
yeah, and then he went to like basic training or something. He's like in the Air Force or the.
Yeah, someone told me he's doing the military. He's not even playing basketball. Yeah. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Whatever works. Go out on top.
Yeah. All right, and I've got the newsletter, of course. Going to be doing spring sports, not to the degree I do basketball because, dear God, and so I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how frequently I should do the newsletter for spring sports. Not every day. That's for sure.
It's definitely different, but my knee's feeling better. I've taken the last few days off from work to try to get this swelling all the way down, and so I'm going to be hitting the track, hitting baseball fields. So
nice.
I'll be writing. So keep an eye out. And
and I'll have baseball and other spring sport rankings. I might get out to some games.
There we go.
The newsletter will keep going, and the heel points that are readable will still be behind the paywall. So keep your subscription going, and because that money goes to a very important cause of groceries. And feeding the children in my house.
Yep.
All right. So I think that's just about it. We've done everything we need to do. Subscribe to all the things. Subscribe to the Substack. Subscribe to the newsletter. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you podcast. And I'm going to throw it up on Facebook. And because apparently it does well on Facebook, if you can upload a whole hour-long video on Facebook now for some reason.
Yeah. Awesome.
So we'll kill their servers. All right. Thank you for doing this. And I'm going to hit end record now.
Great. Thanks, Lucas.